meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. An adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required by law. Certain portions of the meeting may be closed to the public for the purpose of personnel or other matters as outlined in the Sunshine Law. Decisions made or discussed in closed session will be made known to the public at a later date. All contracts awarded by mayor and council must comply with the affirmative action requirements of NJAC 17:27. Fire exits located in the directions I am indicating. In the event of a fire, please move in a calm, orderly manner to the nearest smoke-free exit. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Yurkova?
Here.
Councilman Hoganson?
Present.
Councilman Casais?
Here.
Councilwoman Story? Here. Councilman Kelly?
Here.
Councilman Elmarossi?
Here.
Mayor Hardy?
Here.
All members present, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, I'd ask everybody to please stand. Madam Clerk, please lead us in a prayer and the pledge of allegiance.
Eternal God, grant us thy help in all our duties and all our perplexities. We ask for thy guidance. Give us thy protection in all our dangers and all our sorrows. Grant us thy peace. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have any communications this evening?
Yes, Mayor. We have a request from the residents of the 400 block of Sheridan Avenue to hold a block party on Saturday, June 28th from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. We have a request from the residents of the 600 block of Elm Street to hold a summer kickoff party on Saturday, June 21st from 3 p.m. till 10 p.m. And we have a request from the residents of the 400 block of Hemlock Street to change the original date of their end of school year party from Thursday, June 19th to Friday, June 20th from 3 to 10 p.m.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And have all three of those requests been provided to the police department?
Yes, sir.
And are there any objections to the police department?
No, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would anybody be opposed to doing all three at once? Does anybody want to separate them? Okay, do I hear a motion on those three requests?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve all those communications.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The request is hereby granted. At this time, I would like to ask Councilman Hoganson to join me up front, and I would like to invite up Mr. Jerry Matthews to meet us up front. Let's get started here. One of the nicest things about Roselle Park is that we have a lot of unknown celebrities out there. And by that I mean they're people that have done some great things. They never take credit for the great things that they've done, but they bring great credit on this community that they grew up in. And Mr. Matthews is one of those people. I'm going to give this to Councilman Hoganson right now. We wanted to recognize Mr. Matthews. Mr. Hoganson brought it to our attention. Jerry Matthews has been recognized as a winner of more men's college basketball games than any coach in New Jersey history. He has 543 victories and counting. 559 and counting. We have to update our numbers. We have to update it, please. A little white out. He is a graduate of Roselle Park High School and a member of the Roselle Park basketball team. He coached high school and college. He won 6 New Jersey athletic championships and 2 Final Four appearances, and he has never had a losing season. Mr. Matthews has also developed the state of New Jersey's most successful men's basketball program at Stockton College, which is an 8,000 student Division III school. We, as the mayor and council, want to thank Mr. Matthews for putting Roselle Park on the map and for giving us the honor of presenting him this proclamation today, including the key of the city. I'd like to ask Councilman Hoganson to do the presentation, please.
That's the same things you read, so if you want, we had to change that to,
Middle of the season.
I take it you don't take the summer off, but.
No. I was born in Bayonne, New Jersey, but my family moved to Roselle Park in 1954 when I was in the 7th grade, and I continued to the Roselle Park system. But when I talk to people now, I never tell them I'm from Bayonne. As far as I'm concerned, I'm from Roselle Park. And Roselle Park was a great place to grow up in, make friends in, and move on into your life from. One of the things I still do on a regular basis, I read the Star-Ledger every day, and I read the high school section, and I still check Roselle Park scores in every sport when they're given in the paper, because you still bleed some red and white from Roselle Park. So I can't forget Roselle Park. It's a big part of my life. I'd like to introduce just a friend of mine that's here tonight, Joe Plaka, sitting out in the audience. Joe and I have been friends for 60 years now, since I moved to Roselle Park. And Joey started on our undefeated football team in 1958-59, and he was about 130-pound wrestler on our undefeated wrestling team in 1959. So it was a great athletic town, and you made a lot of friends for life when you lived here. So I'd like to thank Mr. Hokerson for calling me, and for the town council for doing this. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Everybody heard me. Nobody ever has any trouble hearing me in the audience.
Put our TV council on, or it's working, so we gotta.
The only problem with being a great coach is you can put your hands wherever you want to on the microphone, and sometimes you hit the off button, you can't get it back on when we're done. So I just want to pass you the microphone again. If you want to mention anybody's name to embarrass them again, you're more than welcome to do that, please.
Let's see if I can remember what I said. I was born in Bayonne, moved to Roselle Park in 1954, went through the school system here, moved on out into life from there. When I talk to people about where I came from, I don't say I came from Bayonne. As far as I'm concerned, I came from Roselle Park. It was a great place to grow up in, made a lot of lifelong friends, and one of the first things I still do every day, I read the Star-Ledger every day, and I check the sports pages. I still look for Roselle Park scores in every sport, particularly the day after Thanksgiving, because I still want us to kick Roselle's butt on Thanksgiving Day. That's still an important thing. But I introduced my friend Joe Plaka, who I've known now for 60 years. When I first moved to Roselle Park, he became altar boy. He was an altar boy, I became an altar boy. We were among the altar boys who had no problems with the priests. But that's an inside joke. Joey was the starting halfback on our unbeaten football team in fall of '58, and he was a starting wrestler on our unbeaten wrestling team for '58-'59. So we had a great athletic town. It's a great place to be, and it's a good thing Mr. Hokerson told me where town hall was, because I still would have gone to the place on Chestnut Street looking for it. But I'd like to thank the town council for everything, and for honoring me this way. Thank you very much.
We thank you very much for coming this evening, and I hope you enjoy the keys to the city.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Matthews, Mr. Bond, just come back in.
I still. You should get. Come on, Mr. Allen, come on. I'm not leaving until you go.
I'm not going to shut up.
Neither am I.
Nice meeting you. Good to see you again. There's a human interest story right there. Seriously. That's a great story. You're right there.
Okay, I'm going to postpone my report and recommendations at this time, and I'd like to move on to members of council. We're in the month of June, so I'll begin with our council president and councilman at large, Councilman Carl Holmes.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me just start out with how this all started. One of the things I've always said about Roselle Park, it's a small town, and the good thing about it is we've got a lot of heart and all. Mr. Howe, the gentleman, the gray logo T, he sent me the article and said, you know something, I think we should do something. And we got the ball rolling. And it's nice to see some of his classmates, Mr. Plaka. Again, if you go up to the high school, you'll see him in the trophy case. But it's nice to see that these are the things that make Roselle Park what we are. So I thank everybody, and I thank council, for doing that and recognizing it. Because when I finally found him, when I called him, he returned my phone call. He was out in San Francisco, California, and he returned my phone call. And he goes to me, he goes, I would be honored because you can take the boy out of Roselle Park, but you can't take Roselle Park out of the boy. And I think that's fantastic. So, I'd also like to thank everybody that came out on Tuesday, voted for their candidates at their party. It was nice to see, just a few weeks ago, Memorial Day Parade, that people in this great borough that gave their lives for us to honor, go out and vote on that day. So I thank everybody that came out and did that. On Wednesday, May the 21st, I don't want to take from Councilman Kelly, but we had the Fireman's Memorial, so I would yield to him. On Monday, May the 26th, all I can sit back and say about the Memorial Day Parade is wow. Fantastic. I'm just going to thank everybody. There's just so many groups and organizations that came. Again, Roselle Park people, when I walked down Sherman Avenue to make that right on the East Grant and saw the people that were lined up, it was just phenomenal. And sit up there and look out on the library lawn, it was standing alone. So I'm proud that we brought it back. I thank Mayor and Council. I thank the Police Department. I thank our DPW, for helping us organize it. But the groups that were all there, the kids, the bands, Karen and Kyle, Gino, Charlene, just phenomenal job. Phenomenal job. And I hope that it stays like that. And just phenomenal job. On Tuesday, on May 27th, I'm not going to take away from Councilman Casage, but we had a capital budget meeting. And then on Friday, May the 30th, we had a special meeting to conduct some business. I guess I'll let that go to the borough attorney. And then Monday, on June 2nd, myself and Councilman Story and Councilman Kelly went up to the new dispatch station, firehouse, and the hose company. Again, I'll yield to him, but I want to thank all the members that took their time and energy, to make that room, to give back to the people of Roselle Park that hopefully we never have to use it, but if we do, we know that, we're going to be in good hands. So I did a fantastic job. Not only do they do a fantastic job protecting us, as we all say, as we're running out, they're running in. So now they can run into a command center that, they did a fantastic job and cut down the cost of the taxpayers. Just a couple upcoming events. Of course, tomorrow and this weekend is the feast, St. Anthony's at the Church of the Assumption. If everybody wants any tickets for the big lottery, I have the big 50-50. This Saturday, June 14th, next week, June 14th, there's 2 cleanups. We got the townwide cleanup at Mike Memorial Park, and then I'll be out on Westfield Avenue with my crew doing Westfield Avenue. Tuesday, June 17th at 5 o'clock on the 2nd floor, we have a Board of Health meeting. It's open to the public if anybody wants to come. And to give everybody the heads up, on Saturday, June 21st, is our townwide garage sale. So please make sure you get registered, you buy the tent, get the registration, get the flag that you can put out there. I think Carl will be out that day in case anybody needs one, if I'm not mistaken.
Did last year.
Okay. All right. Saturday, June 21st. Okay, so I'm sorry. That's the sale. June the 23rd is our car show, 5 to 8 in Mike Murray Park. I'll put it out early on Monday, June the 23rd. I'm having my 2nd annual meet and greet at Costa's Restaurant from 6 to 8 on Chestnut Street. Thursday, June 26th, it's Hope in the East End. So hopefully everybody will have their letters to show what you can put out, what you can't put out. Friday, June 27th, is the bolt for the west end of town. And another thing I'd like to put out on Sunday, June the 28th, Kevin Murphy and myself will be doing Operation Chill Out again up at the First Aid Squad from 12 to 4. This year we're going to put a little twist on it. We're still looking for all new items, water. Now that it's summer, we're looking for sunscreen, bug sprays, toothpaste. There'll be a list. But we're going to do something different this year. We're going to have the First Aid Squad and hopefully the fire department. We'll do a little bit of a barbecue. So you donate a case of water or donate a big can of bug spray and you'll get to eat hamburgers and hot dogs. So it's just something that we're trying to do, because as you know, there's over 7,000 homeless vets in the state of New Jersey. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you very much. And now I'd like to move on to our first Ward Council Representative, Councilman Casale.
Thank you, Mayor. Just very quickly, as Councilman Hokinson noted, we wrapped up the capital budget at our last budget meeting. We have the bond ordinance on tonight as 2412 for introduction, and we have the amendment to the capital budget as 12114. That's all I have to report. I do have one item for closed session, which is contract negotiations with the clerical bargaining unit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is our second Ward Council Representative, Councilwoman Charlene Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. Wow. Okay. Let's see, last Monday I attended a Morses Creek meeting, and really nothing exciting to report on that. Work is progressing, and I think that we're going to see that really winding down. And if we're lucky, maybe before we get hit by more dues, maybe not, but next meeting won't be till October, so maybe that's a good thing for us. The whole process is just at its nearing its end. I too would just like to mention Memorial Day was fantastic. You can't thank everybody who was involved because so many people did so many great things. But I would particularly just like to mention our Grand Marshal, Sam Damiano, who stepped up in the name of his uncle, who was one of our Lost Cowboys from World War I, and he was just fantastic. And again, as Councilman Hokinson mentioned, we are coming up to the townwide garage sale and then bulk day, and I'd just like to kind of mention, I know some people get frustrated over what you are permitted to put out and not permitted to put out in bulk. This isn't just sort of because we sit there and decide, oh, you know, let's let people put out this and not put out that. We are restricted by what the people we contract with can dump with this bulk. It's not just a matter of our saying, well, you know, you can't take this, you can't take that. You can't take things that are, put out things that are recyclable. I mean, you can't just throw out everything together. It's the way of the world today. Everything has to be separated, and they have to separate it on all levels. So please be patient and realize that we're not trying to make life difficult for anyone. We're just trying to do things by the way they have to be done, by laws, you know, set up by the state and so on. It's not our choice. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is our third ward council representative, Councilman Ryan Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep it brief. The third ward has experienced just a couple random emergency water main leaks that caused residents' water to be turned off without warning last month. And while we have little flexibility with emergency leaks, the DPW has been very proactive as far as communicating with me when there is an emergency leak. If the utilities company does inform them, and the assistant superintendent and I have an imperfect system, they'll text me with where the leak is. I'll either call homes in the area, knock on the doors, or post on Facebook. And it's imperfect because in an emergency leak situation, the notifications are mostly retroactive, but I hope it can be of some service to the residents. Something Carl touched upon, May 21st, the fire department had their annual firefighter memorial services held here at Borough Hall. It was a beautiful service, worthy of the great men and women being remembered. And additionally, this past Monday, before the fire department meeting, the department gave a tour of their newly constructed emergency operations center that I believe was done all in-house. And I'm sure we touched upon again, but just thanks to anybody and everybody who's involved in the Memorial Day Parade. In true patriotic fashion, it's the first parade done in years here in Roselle Park, was one to honor and remember those who gave their lives serving this country. And in true Roselle Park fashion, the community flexed its muscles, organizing and supporting the Memorial Day Parade. And I do have one matter for closed session, Elizabeth versus the joint sewer meeting of the Essex County. But that is all I have to report now.
Is that litigation or kind of potential litigation?
Litigation.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to go to our fourth ward council representative, Councilman Gino Amorosi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start, first of all, to congratulate Gary Matthew. Congratulations. Roselle Park, we're so proud of him. Last week, I attended business-to-business networking hosted by Union County freeholders. This is to promote business in Union County. Also, last night, I attended the meeting at the Cassano Community Center. Just to remind you folks that June, as Carl Hawkinson mentioned, June 21st, we have the car show. It's going to be from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Gazebo Park. We also have farmer markets. It's going to be started also to Roselle Park. It's going to be started on July 2nd, going every Wednesday, and end on October 29th. Again, finally, everybody, I'd like to thank everyone who participated in great Memorial Day parades. I'd like to thank everyone for all the hard work, especially Karen Antias. Thank you again for all your hard work. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I know you were the liaison who spearheaded the efforts for the Memorial Day Parade, and on behalf of Mayor and Council, I want to thank you, but I also hope that you pass on our debt of gratitude to all the volunteers that helped out with that, and to Karen Intom, who organized it. It really was a phenomenal event, and it felt good, again, to be a resident of Roselle Park. And thank you. Bringing up the rear, Mike.
Good evening, everyone. I have a brief report, but hopefully I'll be able to highlight a few things that are important. Speaking of Mr. Matthews, I work at Caldwell College, and the basketball coach there, Mark Carino, actually recently just also became one of the few coaches in the state of New Jersey to earn 500 wins. And during his speech, he actually quoted Mr. Matthews. So it was really inspiring to see the real person here. I know he's from Roselle Park, so I think it's great, and he's known throughout the state of New Jersey. Yes, I'll echo everybody's sentiments. The parade was great. It was an incredible turnout. It was very good to see all the volunteers in the community and people who don't even live in town come out to our parade. So I was really proud of that, and it was an incredible turnout. And everyone I've talked to said it was incredible. It was great. We missed it, and it's something that we should continue on with the tradition. I did go over to the American Legion as well, and there was a veteran there that said to me, every day is Memorial Day, and that's true. Certainly veterans should be recognized and for their sacrifices and also the sacrifices of their families, so it's something to keep in mind every single day. Just a couple of things. In the 5th Ward, the area by Valley Road, there is standing water, and it's becoming overgrown as vegetation is starting to grow. I will be reaching out to DPW about it. However, I know that it's Morrison Erie Railroad line, so I reached out to the county who's overseeing that area. They're going to be coming in there and cutting that and trying to clean it up, because I've seen rodents, and I've had reports that rodents, rats, are starting to make their way down towards areas where residential streets are, and it's a concern. So reaching out to the health department as well, and I got a call about it today, so it's obviously an important issue to address, and I'll be working with Councilman Hokinson, who's animal control, to address that issue. Also read online, the Goethals Bridge is going to be, there's going to be some work being done. A new bridge is going to be built, a state-of-the-art bridge. There's a report on our Union County website, but also there's going to be $1.5 billion in construction. They're building a cable bridge that's supposed to have a lifespan of about 100 years. I know it's a little bit of ways away, but the project's slated to start in 2016 and potentially last for 4 years. The current Goethals Bridge is still going to be open, so that's something important to note. Also, Thursday, June 19, 8:30 to 1 p.m. I'm going to try to make it. There's going to be the Union County Means Business event. It's going to be doing business with the U.S. Department of Transportation. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for me to go and find out some more information, as we have in the past, about our median, about the road. Obviously, American Water has been doing a lot of road work, but the state oversees Route 28. So I'm going to see if there's an opportunity to meet a representative there that can answer some questions other than just calling to the state, which I've done in the past. Okay. And that's going to be held at the Liberty Hall Corporate Center, which is opposite from Kane University. And that would conclude my report.
A few things that I would address, but I'll just address one right now. It's a fairly common mistake, but Veterans Day is the day to recognize all veterans. Memorial Day is the day that we celebrate and memorialize those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. So while all veterans are eager to participate, it's to memorialize those who have passed on in their service to our nation. So I just want to correct that. At this time, I'd like to do the reports of the departments, and I see, I'm sorry.
I'd just like to touch on what the council got about American Water. They contacted me June 16th. Looks like the start date to pay, start billing and pay east-west of that. West-west of that.
I actually have,
Galloping Hill Road to Fayette Avenue, so it's east and west.
and we also have a meeting set up with the state. I'm going to be meeting with a member of the state Department of Transportation on Monday.
Yeah, so it's the 16th that was.
So it is something that is being addressed, both by American Water and the state. At this point, I'd like to call up our DPW representatives. And before you get started, I want to read a letter that we received, and it's a letter that was actually forwarded to the White House and then sent back to us. It was written by a gentleman by the name of Mr. Daniel Trowbridge, who's a union resident. And what he started off saying is, Your Honor, greetings and fair weather to yourself and your family. Thank you for taking the time to read mine and other folks' letters. Then he goes on to talk about party affiliation and the benefits of living in this great country of ours. But he makes a very poignant point of talking about Roselle Park and why he likes Roselle Park. He says, too bad that I now live in Union. You have an E-Town in Roselle Park, and I'd be proud to live there. The quick response by the town sanitation department and other departments in Roselle Park during the most recent snowstorms and emergencies have made other communities quite envious. Although many, if not all, of the handicap amenities were overlooked, sidewalk ramps, pedestrian crosswalks, and some other stuff, not in Roselle Park. Roselle Park was far and away better at snow removal than other surrounding communities. You guys had your act together. Sincerely, Mr. Don Trowbridge. So I want to thank you all for the work that you did. It's something that was recognized outside of our town by other people that came in. And traveling around the community. Here we are in the summer now, we're starting up the summer. But in traveling around the community over the winter months when we were facing snowstorm after snowstorm, I think you all did a yeoman's job, and I thank you for your hard work. Thank you.
Yeah, we have seen our report. The only, a couple of different items from the report. We have been following yes, like we stated, and keeping track of what they've been trimming. And they've done some removals for us, which were beneficial to us. Along with them, so they were able to take down some trees that would need to be removed, and it helped them out and us out. They're not done on Dalton. They have to finish Dalton. They have a couple more days in town, then it'll be gone for about a month, and then it'll come back, because there's a few large trees that are up against triple phase that we gotta have a discussion with public service about what we're gonna do with them. So there's maybe half a dozen that we have to look at specifically and see what we're gonna do. American Water, I followed up the punch list item. I met with Charlie from there, and sinkhole on Maplewood, patch on East Clay, and punch list items on the ABC street, so we'll be taking care of that stuff. And 10 ton for potholes. We went through the past 5 days.
I saw there was a lot of work done on the potholes.
Yeah, 10 ton of material went in about 4 days.
As somebody who drives a car that's loaded around, I appreciate it. Sorry?
But how much per pot? Yeah. How many potholes is that? Is that 2 pounds per pothole?
I'm not answering that question.
Well, I also wanted to thank you. You set up a meeting with the PSC&G to discuss the tree trimming. I was unable to attend. I thank Council President Hokinson for appearing as the acting mayor and discussing with them what they were going to do about the trees. And I think we've reached a happy medium, and I think it's moving forward properly.
Yeah, there's a few complaints, but you can't please everyone.
They're quick, and they're very quick. The gentleman gave his personal number, and they're very quick. He himself coordinates and with these guys before they go out. And then if I have a problem,
Attention.
Counselor?
Yeah.
The issue.
What address?
I think that's it. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I also see our Chief of Police, Chief Paul Morrison. give us your report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a couple things tonight. We completed our click it or ticket May 15th through June 1st. It's funded through a $4,000 grant from the state. Police officers are paid specifically to target motorists who are not wearing safety restraints, motorists and passengers who are not wearing safety restraints. Unfortunately, we issued 150 summonses during the period. This is done by the state, same as you text, you drive, you pay, the texting. People have to get the idea that safety restraints do save lives, and unfortunately, sometimes it takes a summons for people to understand that. So that's been completed. We are fortunate enough to receive the funding each year, so I'm sure it will continue in future years. Councilman Hokinson brought to the police department's attention through a resident on Madison Avenue a serious parking issue on Galloping Hill Road between East Grant and Madison. When church is in session on Sundays, vehicles that park in that area as you exit Madison, you cannot see the northbound traffic. Myself and Captain McCaffrey went out and looked at it ourselves. Your view is totally obstructed. We contacted county officials. They came out to the site. We met with them there. They approved that we could put no parking sign in that area. They agreed. So that will be a no parking area. I believe it's on the agenda for tonight.
I have one question on that. What side of the street is it? Like, usually you say the east.
It's on the west.
It's on the west?
Yeah.
Thank you.
West side between East Grant and Madison.
Thank you.
And that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for the chief?
I have a question, Chief. Thank you for bringing that up, because I know that's been an issue. In that particular area, it's very difficult to turn out left or right. Even if the cars are going the speed limit, just turning out is extremely dangerous either way. The other issue is the amount of overflow parking that's happening on Madison Avenue itself. There's a lot of cars, whether, when the church is in session, I went over, I did speak to the pastor, and I said to him that, anything he can do to just mention to the residents, knowing that it's a public street, anybody can park there. Even if he could just speak to his congregation and say, please try to be courteous and see if there's other areas to park prior to it. The thing that concerns me is as people park on Madison Avenue and they're crossing Galloping Hill Road, if a car can't turn, somebody walking significantly slower trying to cross the street in an area where there is no crosswalk, it's extremely dangerous. So that's just another concern. I don't know what would be the ideal situation to resolve that. I know it's something bordering, another town.
Well, we are looking into that. As far as Madison Avenue, because Councilman Hokinson, at the same time as the parking issue on Galloping Hill Road, did bring that to our attention as well, that residents on Madison are upset with the parking on their street. So we're looking into some permit parking restrictions there. Appreciate it.
Thank Councilman Hokinson for jumping on that and you for handling it. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments?
I just want to echo the sentiments. Captain McCaffrey reached out to me a few weeks ago and advised me of a conversation that was facilitated by Councilman Hokinson, and I appreciate you guys reaching out to not only the county, but I believe the city of Elizabeth was also involved since the bordering town and everyone was in agreement. So that's a really good thing, and I think it's, especially for that area, being that is in the first ward, most of the area that's in my ward, very tight, it's very densely populated, and when you have turns like that, it's a high volume of traffic right next to the city of Elizabeth, so it's potentially a very hazardous situation over there.
It's blind when there's cars parked there. It's just, Councilman Yakubov said you cannot see any traffic.
And just for the benefit of council, I know that probably in the next couple of weeks, the Public Safety Committee is going to meet at least once. And I know tomorrow, the chief and I are going to meet on a couple of issues, but just so the council's aware, the Public Safety Committee is going to meet.
Thank you.
I do have one more quick thing. I wanted to thank you. The other day obviously picking up their kids. And the 2 police officers that were there at the time were excellent in facilitating traffic. It really looked like it was flowing. Yes, it gets extremely congested in that one small street, but they were good and proactive about moving everyone along. So, and I know a couple of parents came up and said, this is great. So I just want to thank you for that.
We are looking at other things to do in that area because it is a very congested area, which is dangerous for the children. So we're working on a couple of other things.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you, man.
I hear a motion to accept the reports of the departments.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the reports of the departments.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Reports of the departments are hereby accepted. At this time, I would like to open the public comment portion, please.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion to open the public portion of the meeting.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Public comment portion is now open. Before we bring up all the members of the public, I understand that we have some representatives here this evening of the Light Tower Fiber Networks. If you'd like to come on up and speak to us, please. I understand you want to address the governing body. The rule is 7 minutes per speaker. If you want some give and take, tell us and we'll do give and take. If you prefer just to use your full 7 minutes for yourself, feel free to do that. That's it. If you need a chair,
Mayor, Council, I represent the Light Tower Corporation. We are a competitive telecommunications provider based up in Boston with a significant presence in New York and New Jersey.
can I just get your name and address?
Anthony Barone, 80 Bogart Avenue, Staten Island, New York. We are looking for a right-of-way agreement with the borough in order to place cable on a pole that is on borough property adjacent to Locust Street and the Conrail right-of-way. And when we come up on that pole, we will then go down Locust Street and go into Roselle to end up with our ultimate location of 27 Commerce in Cranford.
I'm trying to,
Right by McDonald's. Would you like to,
How long is the distance?
in the borough, about 9 feet?
Yeah, 9, 15. Right on the border.
Where the Conrail overpasses on Locust Street, where it's McDonald's, Payson McDonald's, right, the pole that's right where that Conrail right away.
We'll be coming from an underground, pre-existing underground structure onto the pole and then extend the railroad tracks.
Just, I mean, there's a lot of wires there. One of the issues, not issues, but something we've discussed in the past, how heavy the wires are overall. Is it just one wire being put through?
It's a fiber optic cable, about 3/4 of an inch in diameter. It has been vetted by Verizon, who operates the pole, and we do have a license pending the approval of the borough.
just so that you understand what the concern is, we have Verizon Fios cables that were added on about 4 or 5 years ago. And particularly when there are storms, the PSNG cables, the phone company cables, Comcast cables, Verizon cables that come down that they haven't replaced, or they replaced and left the old cables out there. Particularly during the storms, we noticed the telephone poles started swaying. Most of it, I think, was the Verizon Fios, very thick cables. Some of them are probably about 3-inch or 4-inch diameter, and they're up high, so it causes a pendulum effect that broke a series of poles during that time. What I think the best thing to do is maybe if we can get some more information from you, and I can put you in touch with Mr. Huxford. Rich Huxford is our legal counsel, and he can give you the proper procedures that we need to go through so that we can negotiate this and figure out what you need and make sure that you have it.
Mayor, I've actually been in contact with Mr. O'Leary. I know he's seen some information previously, so I will give him a call either tomorrow or early next week. I know you sent some documents my way previously. We'll go over that. We'll talk on either Friday or Monday, and then the next mayor council meeting in 2 weeks, I'll have all that information presented to the mayor council.
And I just want to make sure I understand, I haven't seen the map, but it's 5 It's by where the McDonald's is, so you're really going under the bridge there. So
Yes.
you're really talking about 10 feet in Roselle.
We really are, there's a pole right next to, or from you away from the railroad trestle that we already have fiber optic cable on, and we need to tie into that cable to provide services, as Anthony said.
So it's minor, it's not in a neighborhood, it's on a main road.
It's on the main road, and it's heavily treed there, and we don't plan on changing anything, or any real major construction other than just going right to that pole. And you probably won't even see it.
Okay.
You have to look for it to see.
Okay, so are there any other questions for these gentlemen? What I'd ask you to do then is get in touch with Mr. Huxford, and we'll make whatever arrangements.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak, please step forward, state your name and address, and tell us what's on your mind.
Gentlemen, you guys want this?
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming for us on this evening. Thank you. Make sure you have dinner someplace here in Roselle Park. There are plenty of restaurants. Fantastic. Sounds good.
I wouldn't sure. The mayor wants me to.
No, we're in a public portion, we'll do that afterwards.
Okay.
Saul Kearson, 150 Broad Street. Just for a point of clarification, this is not the same company that either a year or two ago by the train station, correct?
No.
No. Was that ever resolved as far as the fee? Because I guess there was some,
We did some intense investigative work.
so you Googled it.
That's right.
So this isn't the same company?
No.
All right. I just, I guess I have a question either for Councilwoman Story and or the Borough Clerk with regard to the Councilwoman that stated that the restriction, it's not restricted by whim, for lack of a better word, but by the contractor can dump. But my understanding is that the bid goes out, the request goes out from the borough. So in other words, I presume the clerk does it, are you asking for things that are required by law or not permitted by law?
I can answer.
Okay.
Most of it is what's required by law. New Jersey DEP has certain restrictions on what can be dumped, what the type of trash that you're able to dump in certain locations, and what the costs are to dump those certain types of trash.
Okay.
The other restriction that we have is in order to make it as efficient as possible, we like to ask our residents to recycle as much as they can. It's environmentally friendly, and it also saves on the tonnage of what gets picked up. So I'd say probably 90% of the requirements are state mandated or federally mandated.
Okay.
And then about 5 to 10% like aluminum products and things like that, we try to get disposed of as part of recycling.
One of the, if I could just add, one of the things that a lot of people think about, especially in the last few years, is wood, and it's just not fiscally feasible to give people the option to dispose of unlimited amounts of wood as bulk.
A town bonfire would be nice.
Well, it would be. That's an idea.
It could be a gangbusters idea. My question regarding Ordinance 2409, I understand that's for first reading this evening. Oh, I got it answered. That was the one with the police department in the church. 2411, and I guess my question for that is, what's the change? Is it that section H? Is that an addition?
I think Councilman Hokinson is the one that brought this one in.
The fences.
Yes.
The fences.
Talking to our code enforcement officer, there was an issue where a gentleman, a homeowner, put up something that was really raggedy and kind of like, so we're bringing it to the attention that you have to use special materials.
Okay.
So it's, in other words, you want to put up a fence, you're not going to put up,
Twigs.
It was just, it was horrible.
Okay. Horrible, I like that. That's a good one. I'm going to use that from now on. I like that word, horrible. Extension, my goodness, my work. Resolution 116-14. My question, I guess, is, these aren't all the licenses in town for Is it?
I'm sorry?
Are these all the licenses? Okay, this is just, I guess, for this cycle,
No.
right? Because there's, I guess, I don't know how to pronounce it, forgive me, it's the one across the street from the Master Peters. Is it Cascio or Casio? Cascio.
Some people have not filed.
Oh,
Some people have filed, but they don't have a tax clearance. So there's issues of why some of them aren't on there yet.
okay,
They have until the 30th of June
okay.
to comply. If they don't, they have some problems in other steps and mechanisms that they're gonna have to go through to keep their license.
All right. And just out of curiosity, we are actually, I believe the mayor stated this, forgive the term, grandfathered in the fact that we actually have more licenses than our ratio allows, but because it was done before.
A lot of municipalities.
A lot of drinking in Roselle
Yeah,
Park.
most municipalities in the state of New Jersey, because the laws were changed and there was a lot of restrictions put in place with regard to liquor licenses. Most municipalities have an overabundance of licenses, and it's unlikely that in the next
100
lifetime
years.
that will loosen up.
It's a good reason the law was put in place though, because no, everyone goes over it.
It's done by population
Right.
and the type of license. Consumption licenses, you can have one for every 7,000, and distribution licenses, you can have one for every 3,500.
So basically we can only have at most two.
At most two, if you round up.
2 bars.
I think they round down. I think they round down.
and 4 liquor stores.
And if they
About.
don't renew, they die.
That's my other question. So take Saul's Liquor. I don't do it by the 30th, and it goes away. I don't get a chance to go, I want it back, because that's what the law basically does. It'll restrict it if you lose it. Yeah, if you don't use it, you lose it. And I guess my final question is regarding summer hours for this year. I read that the hours are going to be, where Friday Borough Hall will be closed, and it's going to be 37 and a half hours. And I guess my question is a financial one more than anything else. I know there are some salaried workers, or maybe I'm mistaken, is every worker in Borough Hall salaried?
Most of the salaried workers, their contracts, and I may be speaking out of school because I haven't looked at this, but I think the contracts for salaried workers are 35 hours per week.
Okay.
So 37 and a half hours per hall, so.
It's gonna be open 35 hours. I don't know how you got 37 and a half.
This is gonna be.
Unless it's closed for some time, but, because it's 8 to 5 for 3 days.
Lunch,
So you're closed during lunch?
no. They
Borough
still,
Hall is open, but the
Right.
employees.
Okay, gotcha. So Borough Hall will be open for 37 and a half hours.
So it addresses two of the issues that seem to be a concern, which is we have our manning in place for the entire time period that we need it in place.
Right.
And for some people, they come up here and talk about lights and air conditioning and all.
You mean one person?
Whoever might address that issue, then it also does close down Borough Hall during certain times that it would be open, otherwise the lights and air conditioning would be running at high speed.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak, please step forward, state your name and address, and tell us what time you want. Ms. McGarry, you know that there are little levers on the bottom of those chairs that you can raise them and lower them with?
Jacob McGarry, 612 Sheridan Avenue, Roselle Park. Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, viewing audience, members of council, good evening. A couple of meetings ago, I had mentioned EPA extends the Safe River cleanup. I misread it. EPA is the federal. To the chair, please explain Resolution 114, $73,897.60.
you like to explain now or you want to wait?
No, I'll wait. To the chair, how much did the property sell for in ordinance 2408? I read this at a budget meeting for the council, the chair. The Yellow Ribbon Campaign, Mr. Dave Donato from Donato Flores had donated yellow ribbons. And this Yellow Ribbon program started with Mrs. May Hokeson, and I humbly continue the program of Support Our Troops for the last 20 years. To the chair, Councilman Casillas had mentioned $80,000 we paid extra or into some debt we owe. I'm not quite clear on that. And on our sewer tax, to the chair, our sewer taxes, how do they calculate it? How much does Rollway Valley or do they charge us, and how are we? How do you folks determine how much to charge the resident? Is it if Rollway Valley charges us $2, do we charge the taxpayer $3? It's confusing. There's got to be a cost and a profit, or may not be. Thank you.
Okay, I'll start with the premise that we're a nonprofit. Government is not in place to make a profit, so that's the initial premise. I'll try to answer your questions as best as I can, and if I can't explain, maybe somebody else can help me chime in. Let's start with Resolution 114-14, which is a resolution authorizing the tax collector to issue a check in the amount of $73,897.60. That is based on the municipal tax appeals for 2010 through 2013. And one of the reasons why we need to do a reval is to avoid that sort of charge, because if there's a reval in place and the properties are assessed properly, then there's no reason for anybody to get a $73,897 refund.
I agree.
Next issue. You asked about 2408. That deals with a RVSA purchase over 50 years ago. I think it was in 1930. That was never memorialized. I'm sorry, it was 1930 when the decision was made. In 1952, 9 municipalities were supposed to deed over some property, and it was never done properly. So we're formalizing what had previously been agreed to in 1952. It's something that over the years, no other council has caught, and I think it's important that we do it the right way. The clerk's office, the county clerk's office, wants to make sure that they have the proper paperwork for any deeded property. You then asked, or you made the comment about Mr. Donato from Donato's Flower Shop. Wonderful human being. He has continued donating the ribbons, and we thank him for that. I think it's a very important project every year to remember those that serve our nation.
Twice a year.
Every day, 365 days a year. I think it's important. You also asked a question about some $80,000 extra debt we owe? I have absolutely no clue. And
It wasn't extra debt that we owe. That was $80,000 we'll be paying off this year. We talked about this at our capital
I
meeting.
think that's,
Okay,
so it's $80,000 that we're paying down on the debt.
correct.
So that means is that it's kind of like if you have a mortgage where you owe $1,500 a month, and some months you decide to pay $2,000 to bring down your debt. That's what we've done. We paid $80,000 extra to bring down the debt, so that way we're ahead of the game. It's fiscally responsible to do that. And finally, you mentioned the sewer fees, and I stress that they're sewer fees. We receive bills from the RVSA and from the joint meeting for the processing of our sewage. The way that we assess our fees is based on water consumption. The thought process is that if water comes in, it goes out. And some people say, well, I have a pool, and that doesn't count, or I water the lawn, so that's wasted water. Well, the truth of the matter is that we have no way of assessing that. So the only way to assess it, unless you want to put meters on everybody's house, is to use the sewer fees. And we base it on water consumption. There's a rate that's attached to the water consumption. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Please step forward, state your name and address, and tell us how you vote.
ladies and gentlemen of the audience, viewing audience, members of council, good night.
Mayor, seeing no one, I would like to make a motion that we close the public portion of this meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Public comment portion is now closed. I believe that we have some minutes to be approved this evening for the regular meeting of May 15, 2014, and a special meeting of May 30, 2014.
Yes, Mayor, I would like to make a motion that the minutes be approved pending any corrections.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Any corrections? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Yockelberg?
Yes.
Councilman Hokinson?
Yes.
Councilman Stiles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Story?
Yes.
Councilman Kelly?
Yes.
And Councilman Almarasi?
Yes.
6 votes in the affirmative.
Minutes are hereby approved. Bills and payrolls?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that the bills and payrolls be not read and passed for payment.
Questions or comments about the bills and payrolls? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Yockelberg?
Yes.
Councilman Hokinson?
Yes.
Councilman Stiles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Story? Yes. Councilman Kelly?
Yes.
And Councilman Almarasi?
Yes.
6 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Bills and payrolls are hereby passed for payment. I believe we have two ordinances for second reading this evening. I'd like to begin with ordinance 2407. Madam Clerk, if I can ask you to read ordinance 2407 by title only.
2407 is an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Section 68.AA of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Roselle Park regarding the borough-wide garage sale. This ordinance will permit sale at the library.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion that the public hearing on ordinance number 2407-2407 be open.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Anyone wishing to speak on ordinance 2407? In ordinance 2407 only, please step forward, state your name and address, and tell us what's on your mind.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance number 2407-2407.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Public hearing on ordinance 2407 is now closed.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion that the ordinance number 2407-2407 be adopted on a second reading and advertised as prescribed by law.
Second.
Any questions or comments on ordinance 2407? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Yockelberg?
Yes.
Councilman Hokinson?
Yes.
Councilman Stiles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Story? Yes. Councilman Kelly?
Yes.
And Councilman Almarasi?
Yes.
6 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance 2407 is hereby approved. Madam Clerk, can you please read ordinance 2408 by title only?
is ordinance 2408, an ordinance authorizing the sale of certain real property to the Roway Valley Sewerage Authority, which, as the mayor just explained, is more of a house cleaning item due to paperwork not being filed.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion that the public hearing on ordinance number 2408 be open.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Public hearing portion on ordinance 2408 is hereby open. Anyone wishing to speak, please step forward, state your name and address, tell us what's on your mind with regard to ordinance 2408 and ordinance 2408 open.
So here's on 150 Berlin Street. This is, I guess, more just procedural in question or questions. So technically, this is no longer borough property. This becomes the property of the Roway Valley Sewage Authority.
The property's in Roway. It's not in Roselle Park.
Oh. So we had property outside of town that we didn't.
Since we're members, we have to approve.
So we had property. We were like, so we could have gone there and just like stepped on it and gone, we're Roselle Park now. Okay, so that refuses. So this is just more of a technical thing. Something wasn't signed correctly.
It
wasn't recorded.
It's a paperwork drill that needs to happen so that way legally the property could be deeded over.
Okay. And this doesn't impact anything as far as
There's
our
no
acreage,
exchange of
our
money,
taxes.
There's no exchange of money, there's nothing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Not changing our code.
Anyone else wishing to speak, please step forward, state your name and address, and tell us what's on your mind with regard to ordinance 2408 and ordinance 2408 open.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion to close public portion on ordinance number 2408.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Mayor, I would like to make a motion that ordinance number 2408 be adopted on second reading and advertised as prescribed by law.
Madam Clerk, any questions or comments on ordinance 2408? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Yacobo?
Yes.
Councilman Wilkinson?
Yes.
Councilman Zayas?
Yes.
Councilwoman Story?
Yes.
Councilman Kelly?
Yes.
And Councilman El Marassi.
Yes.
6 votes in the affirmative, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance 2408 is hereby approved. Madam Clerk, I understand that we have some ordinances for introduction this evening. I ask you to read
You can do them all at once.
Madam Clerk, please read ordinance 2409, 2410, 2411, 2412 by title only.
2409, an ordinance amending Chapter 7, Section 14 of the Code of the Borough of Roselle Park entitled Parking Prohibited at All Times on Certain Streets, which is regarding the parking as spoken to by the police chief. 2410, an ordinance to mandate direct deposit for municipal employees by the Borough of Roselle Park pursuant to C 5214-15F. 2411, an ordinance amending Chapter 40, Section 3004 of the Code of the Borough of Roselle Park entitled Fences, which is strictly to add section regarding what they can be made out of. 2412 is a bond ordinance providing for an appropriation of $1,765,000 for various capital improvements by and for the Borough of Roselle Park in the County of Union, New Jersey, and authorizing the issuance of $1,300,000 in bonds or notes of the borough for financing part of the appropriation.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If everybody can just hang on for 1 second, we're checking something.
Chapter 28, Capital Law 2013 is defined under C 52-4. State municipality.
Okay. Okay, do I hear a motion for introduction of these ordinances?
Mayor, I would like to make a motion that all the ordinances that were just read be adopted on the first reading and advertised as prescribed by law for a second reading held at the public hearing on June 19th.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
I do want to just make one comment, although I'm going to vote for all of them. Ordinance 24-10, and what is precipitating 24-10 must be one of the stupidest things that the Jersey State Legislature has done recently, next only to not passing the 2% arbitration cap. There is absolutely no point to this, and every governing body is going to have to do this in the state of New Jersey. And it's absolutely ridiculous. That's all.
Why don't you just tell us what's on your mind? Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Youngblood.
Yes.
Councilman Hoganson.
Yes.
Councilman Casais.
Yes.
Councilwoman Story. Yes. Councilman Kelly.
Yes.
And Councilman Alvarado.
Yes.
6 votes in the affirmative, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance 2409, Ordinance 2410, Ordinance 2411, and Ordinance 2412 are hereby approved for introduction. We'll now move on to our consent agenda. All matters are considered to be routine and non-controversial. They will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of any of these items unless a member of the governing body so wishes, in which case the matter will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Madam Clerk, please read resolutions 114-14 through 127-14.
11414, authorizing the tax collector to issue a check in the amount of $73,897.60 following a state tax court judgment to reduce or refund assessment for the years 2010 or 2013 on block 913, lot 18. 11514, accepting the resignation of Ann Hebe and Carl Arbler from the Board of Trustees of the Veterans Memorial Library. 11614, renewal of ABC liquor licenses for 2014-15. 11714, authorizing the mayor and borough clerk to execute an agreement with the County of Union to modify the cooperative agreement dated June 2011, which is the CDBG renewal. 11814, authorizing the mayor and borough clerk to execute a cooperative agreement with the County of Union for fiscal years 2015-2017, also CDBG. 11914, authorizing change order number 3 for the contract East Grant Avenue Improvements, Phase 3A to Sefeli and Sons General Contracting, Inc., 81 Franklin Avenue, Nutley, New Jersey, 07110, in the amount of $-111,747.28, which is a 15.15% decrease. 12014, authorizing the donation of a 1991 Dodge Ram wagon to the Church of the Assumption. 12114, amendment to the capital budget, and that Dodge Ram was donated to the borough by PSE&G years ago. 12214, approving insertion of an item in the 2014 budget for Clean Communities Program grant in the amount of $18,561.41. 12314, approving insertion of an item in the 2014 budget for Click It or Ticket grant in the amount of $4,000. 12414, authorizing the treasurer to issue multiple checks in the total amount of $39,212.35 payable to multiple lien holders for redemption of 5 tax sale certificates and a premium check for $20,000 from the tax collector's premium account. 12514, authorizing the borough clerk to auction an unclaimed police vehicle. 12614, accepting the resignation of Matt Burns as engineer for Lorraine Hose Company. And 12714 is appointing Eric Finkel to the rank of engineer for Lorraine Hose Company.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion to approve the resolutions on the consent agenda.
Before we do that, does anybody wish to remove any of the items from the consent agenda? I'd like to remove 119-14. Anything Anything else needs to be removed? And I also would like to point out that 115-14 should also read effective July 1st. It's not immediately, it's effective July 1st, the resignation. So the motion then would be for 114-14 through 118-14 and 120-14 through 127-14.
Okay, I make that motion to approve the resolutions. Just said.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Yakobo.
Yes.
Councilman Hutchinson. Yes. Councilman Sires.
Yes.
Councilwoman Story. Yes. Councilman Kelly.
Yes.
And Councilman Omarasi.
Yes.
6 votes in the affirmative, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Resolutions 114-14 through 118-14, 120-14 through 127-14 are hereby approved. And the last resolution this evening is 119-14. Do I hear a motion and a second on 119-14?
I'll make the motion on 119-14.
The reason why I asked for this to be removed is I wanted to point out again that when we put out a bid to do work in the community, we assess a dollar value that we think will be the maximum cost that will be incurred by the borough. That's the fiscal responsible thing to do, so that way you don't have to continue to pay or find additional funds to do a project. We talked to our borough engineer to get that information, and the borough engineer comes up with estimates, and that is one of the things that happened here. Once the work is concluded, we figure out what the actual cost was, and in this particular case, it was a 15.15% decrease. That means that the borough of Roselle Park is, out of the amount that we had allotted for this project, is getting $111,747.28 back. So that's the way that we do business up here. There's been some questions over and over again about specific dollar amounts that we put into the budget, but that's what we perceive to be the high-end potential cost. And then at the end of the project, we try to do a wrap-up and figure out what the actual cost was, and that way we can replenish our capital budget and use that money for future projects. So I thank the borough engineer, I thank our borough clerk and our chief financial officer for tracking this project and making sure that we get this kind of money back into our budget. Thank you very much. And with that said, are there any other comments about this? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Yakobo.
Yes.
Councilman Hutchinson.
Yes.
Councilman Sires.
Yes.
Councilwoman Story.
Yes.
Councilman Kelly.
Yes.
And Councilman Omarasi.
Yes.
6 votes in the affirmative, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Resolution 119-14 is hereby approved. And I also was remiss earlier. I recognized that I was overcome by joy when I saw our borough engineer walk in, and I didn't go to our department heads when I was going around the horn. So I'd like to get a report, if one is available, from our borough engineer, Mr. Thompson Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I was hoping to speak before the closed session. So my report was submitted to Madam Clerk for distribution before tonight's meeting. There's just two things I want to talk about. One is the tax maps. We had some communication with the tax assessor this week. She has completed her Mod 4 modifications, which were submitted to my office. We can take those documents along with the revised maps and send them to the state for true final approval at this point in time. They will be out by tomorrow. I think the communication was yesterday. Usually it's 2 to 3 weeks. Hopefully that's the case, and I'll offer some good news hopefully at the next meeting. The other thing was, which I know is a hot topic, is the DPW facility. At the last meeting, there was a resolution approved to do some additional soil borings, more of a tracer study to see where the fill material was placed on the site. The borings have been completed. They were done about 10 to 14 days ago. I do not have a final report to discuss publicly at this point or to give to the governing body, but that should be in my possession in about 2 weeks, and obviously we will offer that to the governing body and the public for consideration. The other piece was there was a resolution passed last month to do soil testing in terms of the makeup of the material on the site. That has not been done yet, but it is scheduled to be done next week. So again, there'll be a further update at the next month's meeting. Just regarding Resolution 119-14 with a decrease of roughly $111,000 for East Grand Avenue, we are definitely pleased to see that much credit coming back into the job to assist the borough in using that money for future projects. We do like to value engineering different projects, but to see a number like that is very satisfactory, and hopefully the borough can use that money for future benefit. So thank you.
Thank you. It's also a credit to the contractor who did the work. They did great work.
That is correct.
It took a long, long time to do it, but they did a very thorough job. It was the largest repair project this town has ever seen in the infrastructure, and it was well done, and I think everybody is satisfied with this outcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to go to our Chief Legal Counsel, Mr. Rich Huxley.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I do have 6 minutes for closed session. They are quick items, I promise you. I sincerely promise you they're quick items.
I somehow knew I should not have done this. Okay, go ahead.
Sale of borough property to Mr. and Mrs. Novick. Ongoing litigation, Zabo versus Borough of Roselle Park. Potential litigation, Mr. and Mrs. Ruck versus Borough of Roselle Park. Ongoing litigation, Selecki versus the Roselle Park Police Department. Ongoing litigation, Stender versus the Borough of Roselle Park. And ongoing litigation, Fitness with Genie versus the Borough of Roselle Park.
Thank you.
About the meeting that we had on Friday.
That's right, yes.
Can you briefly debrief?
Yeah, not sure, absolutely. There was a M&C meeting held on Friday, the 30th of May, due to the need.
It wasn't an emergency meeting. Special meeting, thank you. 48-hour notice was given.
For Mayor and Council to appoint conflict counsel with regards to Genie's Fitness. There was litigation filed by Genie's Fitness, and the land use board attorney had a conflict with Fitness with Genie, and we needed to have someone represent the land use board and the borough at that hearing. That was Monday, which took place.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up is our Borough Clerk, Ms. Doreen Kelly.
Mayor, I just have 2 items to close. Negotiations for the lease of borough property with the Red Cross, and negotiations for court personnel.
And hopefully Mr. Blum has better news for us. No closed session items?
I have no closed session items. But I am requesting to get a motion tonight for our bulk/partial recycling flyer, which is being printed hopefully as we speak. I will need to do a hand check so we can get that out in the mail as quick as possible. So I'm just requesting permission to do a hand check to the postmaster. I don't know the amount yet until I get it from the printing company. But the check will be reported on the next bill list. I just want your permission to cut that hand check, please.
What are we talking about? 4,500 mailers?
It's about 6,000 mailers. The bill for the printer's about 800 and change.
Just
and
under
the postage.
$900, yes.
Is the postage?
It's a couple hundred.
First class? Well,
Oh, no, we have a permit.
You're talking less than 2,000.
Yeah, oh, wait.
okay.
I'll make a motion to authorize the hand check.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Since it involves money, I would ask Borough Clerk to do a roll call, please.
Councilman Eckelbo.
Yes.
Councilman Wilkinson.
Yes.
Councilman Sykes.
Yes.
Councilman Story. Yes. Councilman Kelly.
Yes.
And Councilman Alvarado.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Requests hereby approved.
Thank you, and also just a friendly reminder that the SOAR bills were mailed Friday before Memorial Day, and they are due on July the 1st.
Thank you. Are there any other issues that need to be discussed before we go into closed session? Whereas the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Roselle Park wish to discuss matters which are described in the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, Sunshine Law, JSA 10:4-12, and whereas the general nature of the subjects to be discussed in closed session are contract negotiations with the clerical bargaining group, litigation Elizabeth versus joint meeting, potential litigation involving a tree issue, sale of borough property for Mr. and Mrs. Novick, ongoing litigation Zabo versus Roselle Park, potential litigation Ruck versus Roselle Park, pending litigation Selecki versus Roselle Park Police Department, ongoing litigation Stender versus Roselle Park, ongoing litigation Fitness with Genie versus Roselle Park, negotiations regarding the lease of borough property with the Red Cross, and negotiations with court personnel. Did I miss anything?
How many is there?
Too many. That's the number. Whereas the time, one of the circumstances under which the items discussed in closed session will be disclosed to the public at future time, now therefore be it resolved, the mayor and council of the borough of Roselle Park adjourn the open portion of the meeting and open a closed portion of the meeting to discuss the above item. Do I hear a motion to go to closed session?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? We're now in closed session. Thank you, everybody.
Peace.